San Antonio Spurs 3 threats to sign DeRozan this summer. The San Antonio Spurs are sure to be in for a very interesting offseason. With the Spurs having recently announced that they would not be extending a qualifying offer to Quinndary Weatherspoon, having 6 other players coming off the books, and being one of few teams that will have in excess of $40 million in cap space, the front office will have the ability to make some big moves if they so desire. The most likely offseason change that the Spurs may see in the near future is the departure of DeMar DeRozan. In his 3 seasons with the Spurs, he and the team were only able to make it to the playoffs once, only narrowly missing the playoffs this past season with a loss to the Memphis Grizzlies in the play-in game. There are several different possible situations in which DeRozan leaves the Spurs. Especially now given their first-round exit in the playoffs, the Spurs making a sign and trade deal with the Los Angeles Lakers is a very real possibility despite the 2 teams being reluctant to trade with each other in the past. Another very real possibility is that DeRozan becomes an unrestricted free agent in August and walks without a deal being made. The Spurs are far from being the only NBA team with the necessary cap space to sign a player like DeRozan, and it would not surprise me in the least to see him sign a deal with a team that could compete for a championship in the near future. In the case that DeRozan becomes an unrestricted free agent in a couple short months, these 3 teams could easily become suitors for the 31-year-old former All-Star. Unlike the San Antonio Spurs, the Mavericks can pair DeRozan with a star. Looking not too far away, the Dallas Mavericks could be a buyer for DeRozan this offseason. After being eliminated by the Los Angeles Clippers in the playoffs for the 2nd year in a row, the Mavericks may be looking for a secondary ball handler and scorer to help Luka Doncic. While Doncic had some incredible performances in the series for only being 22 years old, going down the stretch, the Mavericks had a lot of trouble finding offense outside of him. Tim Hardaway Jr. was able to provide the team with some microwave scoring, particularly from three-point land, but he had a few great scoring games along with a few very underwhelming performances. Kristaps Porzingis notably underperformed nearly the entire series as well. In terms of fit, DeRozan would definitely be questionable on the Mavericks as he would more than likely not help their already mediocre floor spacing. In order to sign DeRozan in the first place, the Mavericks would have to let Hardaway Jr. walk in free agency to have enough cap space for the signing. Being that Hardaway Jr. is the Mavericks' highest volume 3-point shooter, and also one of their leaders in 3-point percentage, allowing him to walk would mean gambling on other guys on their roster like Jalen Brunson, Dorian Finney-Smith, and Maxi Kleber, not to mention Porzingis, to pick up the slack in his absence. That said, DeRozan would provide the Mavericks with another reliable scorer and facilitator outside of Doncic, something that was sorely missed in their most recent playoff series. Signing DeRozan would certainly be a risk for the Mavericks, but a risk that could pay off well for them in the postseason. The Grizzlies may be a better fit than the San Antonio Spurs. An area of the game that the Spurs are currently lacking in that DeRozan would greatly benefit from his three-point shooting. The Spurs' leading three-point shooters this season were Rudy Gay, Patty Mills, and Lonnie Walker IV, shooting 38%, 37%, and 35% from beyond the arc respectively. While DeRozan is still able to score well because of his ability to create his own shot and draw contact, he would benefit from having better floor spacing and having better three-point shooters to kick the ball to. This past regular season, Desmond Bane, DeAnthony Melton, and Grayson Allen were able to shoot 43%, 41%, and 39% from 3 respectively on 4 or more attempts per game each. The Grizzlies have managed to build a very good would-be to not give up too many of their best three-point shooters in the process. The Knicks will have even more cap space than the San Antonio Spurs. Finally, much like the Spurs, the New York Knicks will be one of the few teams in the league to have well over $40 million in cap space this offseason, and possibly even over $50 million. Being that the free agent market is relatively dry and the Knicks are in need of more balanced scoring and facilitating, DeRozan could be a good option for them. By now, rumors of DeRozan wanting to return to the Eastern Conference, and more specifically talk of him joining the Knicks, have been circulating around NBA communities for a long while now. While the Knicks are by far most in need of a point guard, DeRozan would not be as bad of a fit on the Knicks as many fans make him out to be. While the Knicks ended up toward the bottom of the league in three-point shots attempted, they finished tied for second in the league in team three-point percentage at 39.2%, only trailing the Clippers. If the Knicks were to progressively shoot more threes and remain even close to that efficient, DeRozan would likely not hurt their floor spacing too much. The Knicks also ended the regular season as the second worst facilitating team in the league, averaging only 21.4 assists per game as a team. While, again, this issue could be dramatically improved with the addition of a good point guard, it would certainly not be a bad thing to add a wing-sized player like DeRozan that can score and create for others in crunch time. If you enjoyed this video and want to hear from me again, be sure to hit that subscribe button before you go.